I want to start by thanking all of the participants, the speakers as well as the audience. It's been great. One thing I've been struck by in my conversations yesterday and today are the filters that all of us have brought to this workshop. I've gone around asking people, so what do you think of the workshop? And I have been simply amazed at the diversity of answers. Someone will say, well, I was really interested by so-and-so's talk because they said such and such. And I'll be thinking, I didn't think they said such and such. So obviously the two of us applied completely different filters when we heard that talk. So I would like to challenge you to think back to the filter that you carried into this room. Think back to your preconceived biases and try to throw those away. Try to digest the information that was presented in the workshop, perhaps through somebody else's point of view. If you're an educator like me, try to digest them through the point of view of someone who might be funding these programs at NSF, or digest them through the point of view of someone who has devoted their lifetime to studying science education and doing assessment. So that's one thing I would like to ask you to do. And then I'll just briefly summarize the workshop as I saw it. Very broadly, it's a great time to be thinking about and talking about education renovation because of two things. First of all, we have all of this great technology that's Jeff Moore and Michael Thema their talks were at the top of the list of the talks that are exploiting that technology. But all of us can do that. And secondly, as a couple of you noted in the last few minutes, we have a great basis of scientific information about what works and what doesn't work in science education and in chemistry education, and we can build on that. And we saw many of the talks that cited papers from that literature as corroborating or supporting the work that they were doing. So we can build on that, and I think many of the people who spoke today are building on that. We wanted to focus on drivers of change. I think it didn't come out well, but people who teach generally really do want to teach well. We really do want the best for our students. We want to put them out into the world in a position where they can achieve great things. We need to address global problems clearly, and thank you to Jim Anderson and Scott Auerbach for being at the top of the list of talks that were motivated by that. We need more STEM majors, arguably. We certainly need more science literate students, and James Gates from PCAST presented that perspective. Although I was also grateful to Alexandra Killewald for bringing in a sociologist's perspective and an analysis of cultural trends and saying that, you know, there are certain aspects of American science that are really very healthy, and that perhaps we should be a bit more careful before we adopt the alarmist view, as she called it. And I was surprised, happily, to learn from Joel Schulman that the MCAT is not the big boogeyman that many of us had heard it was going to be. And I think that Mike Doyle had heard the same rumors that I heard, that the MCAT is going to destroy chemistry departments. And it's not, you told us. Thank you, Joel. We talked about barriers for change. One barrier clearly is the amount of work and support that is needed for the innovations, at least the kind that we heard about today, and they're often driven by a single person who is extremely enthusiastic and dedicated and altruistic. Tom Holm made a good point that enthusiasm will carry you a long way, but it won't carry you to the point where your reforms are adopted by other people. And in order for those reforms to be adopted by other people, there also needs to be evidence that they work and that they will help other people meet their objectives. So assessment is important because it will help to convince other people that change is worthy. I want to just briefly mention that dissemination of the information from people who are practicing these techniques is also an area that I think needs great improvement. And I had a wonderful conversation with Jim Anderson on the bus this morning. I want to just convey the fact that he plans to make his textbook, or the version of the materials that he's developing, available at minimal cost to the widest possible audience. And he's anticipating a cost of no more than $15 per textbook. So that is a wonderful kind of aspiration that we should all think about. We heard about a lot of innovations. There was a lot of emphasis on engendering teamwork among students, engendering engagement and ownership among students, teaching students to teach, giving them a context for the information that provides motivation. Angie Stacy talked about the importance of developing the tests so that they match the content that's being delivered. Forgive me, Angie, if I'm distorting that a bit, but everything needs to be in sync. That students will adapt to the tests, and so the tests are very important. That closes my summary. I want to thank you all again for participating and say that this is a really exciting time to be thinking of chemical education, and I'm happy that the workshop helped to convey some of that excitement.